Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, because we're in Canada.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tukes and Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and this week we're going to be talking about my mom's Corvette, getting a little deeper into this. I actually had a bunch of you guys reach out to me on social media, so that's pretty cool. Do that anytime if you need to know anything. But wanted to know some more stuff about how we fit this LS in here. So we're going to talk about the things a little more in depth of how me and Dad did it, and a few little things here and there that, you know, we learned along the way, obviously from watching the other video. But if you haven't watched that yet, go watch it. I'll put it on the screen here somewhere. You could see just from that video there was a few little issues we had. Big one, steering. So we're going to talk about that for the power steering, and the cold air intake, because a lot of people do electric fans, and, you know, working on a budget like most guys at home are, we want to keep it, you know, stock accessory drive and all that stuff. So let's jump in and show you guys what we did to the cooling system, the steering, all that to make this LS fit in here. So obviously you can see we still got the hood off. It's looking pretty good. We're still actually waiting on one part for the air intake. That's coming from, I don't know where. We ordered it online. Basically, let's start. We'll start from the top, go down. So you can see here, it's just stock, you know, truck intake. We're using a stock truck harness, and I'll show you guys how we kind of ran that, because when we made this harness up, I mean, I did it myself. We left it the way it was routed in the truck, you know, configuration, but just trying to get it in here on how to do it, because we don't have much clearance here. So obviously the harness couldn't run over this. So it was like trying to figure out how to get the harness in there and how to make it work. So you can see here, I just got it shoved behind the rail of a crossover tube, and I'm bringing out, I'm pretty sure it's the wire that goes underneath, and then the stuff that goes to the front here for your throttle body, and then the alternator. And yeah, that was the only thing we had to like kind of pinch it under there, because then this was like crazy long, and we're running, I don't know if you guys can see that in there, but we're running the computer down in there. We got a clip made, I'm pretty sure, or not. I don't know what Dad did, because me and him both worked on this thing. But basically it's shoved in there. We got her hooked up to the, you know, brake system here just to tie this wiring up. Another thing we did for wiring, I added in a, you know, power distribution block here so we could have a junction for power, because on this car everything's like fiberglass. So like there wasn't, well, especially for grounds, we didn't have a ground, so we had to we made a ground junction as well for grounds, and then make sure that we had something for power there so that we could run. We got like our fuel relay here, and there's fuses on that, and you know, whatever other power we need. I think there's some stuff there for the computer. And then simple stuff, you know, after switching from the small block Chevy, you know, going to the LS, if you guys haven't done that before, me and Dad have done a couple. So we know a few little things here and there, what to pick out and what to do. So like, obviously for your distributor wire, that would be your, you know, keyed power. We're using that to power up the computer. So it already comes out here, so it's easy enough to run the wiring out here and stuff like that. We're just running, basically the trucks have, you know, like flex lines here for their fuel rails. So we're just running the regular stock line, rebent it going down. Once we get underneath, I'll show you how that comes underneath. But another thing we did that we showed in the last video, we customized this bracket for the alternator. So you can see it's really hard to show here, but I'll try to get in there and show it here. Let's just get you guys upside down. Let's slide you right in there. So you can see it's kind of chopped out at the bottom there. And there would have been 2 ears sticking up here, chopped one of those off, and then obviously you can see where the threads used to be, we're a lot lower now, and that gives us enough clearance to clear the hood for this to drop down, and the stock belt still fit on there. So that's a huge plus. For the cold air intake, and you know, to make it work, we really should have got a different water pump. They sell one that comes out of like a Cadillac, where this comes off straight. You know, this is going to work fine for now, but it would have just made this have a little bit more room here for the cold air intake. This is a 3-inch pipe, and then it's got the, you know, mass air sensor here that has like a little coupler that Dad made here, just fitting, you know, to this side. Had to clearance the bottom of the tube, so you can kind of see. We made up a jig. I don't know where it is. I'll show you here. Here it is. Here's the jig. You can see it's cut out to the same shape of the underside of the hood. So we knew how much clearance we had here. So with dinting in this tube and clearancing it on the bottom, so you should be able to see here. I don't know, it's hard to see. But the tensioner still has room under there, because if you look in the inside of the tube, you can actually see that it's like dinted up. There's not a lot of room on here. So the one part we're actually waiting on is a silicon 90 that goes from 4-inch to 3-inch, and it's a tight 90. We bought another one that was 4 to 4, and it did not work. So, but really what we're dealing with is the fan here, right, for the clutch fan. And, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, that takes down horsepower and whatnot, but it's like, at the end of the day, who we're building it for is my mom. So we want it to be reliable. We don't want it to, like, the fan to conk out and then, like, her be stranded somewhere and the thing's overheating and she doesn't know. So just planning in that regard. What we had to do to this fan blade was the shroud, we cut it out at the bottom here so that you could slip it in while the motor was in, because that's the easiest way to do it. And then to make it clearance the shroud, I think we took off, I think it was just a little heavier than 1/8 off of each fan blade, just to make the fan just a little bit smaller. And basically all we did was take a Sharpie, draw a line on there, cut it with the grinder, and smoothen it up, right? Try to make them as equal as possible. So that fit in there, and that's how we got that fan fit in there. And we're not running any fancy adapters or anything. You can see it's just on the water pump, so that's pretty cool. We're running stock truck manifolds do work on this. You can see this is a factory one down here, works perfectly fine. And when we originally did it, we changed this over the couple weeks since we did this. This is a stock one as well, but just to give us a little more clearance, and I'll show you guys once we get underneath that as well, to the air box here is a little tight, so we actually modified and we welded the cast manifold just to kick it a little differently, and we wrapped it with header wrap just to keep the heat down. Water pump stuff here, showed this in the last video as well. We just put some 90 fittings onto the water pump, tapped the water pump. We have about a 1/2-inch clearance now on this control arm here, so that's cool. Motor mount plates, last video as well, but we basically just made steel plates, set the motor, once we got it bolted to the transmission, onto the factory mounts that are down there. And once we got the motor situated to where we wanted it, we traced holes into the from the motor mount to the motor plate we made, and then took the plates out, tapped the plates, put them back in. So that way the motor sits 100% where it needs to be. I don't know if there's anything else up top here that I really need to show. There was some vacuum stuff, like we're running the transmission vacuum line off of this, and I can't remember what else run. Oh, the wipers run off of that vacuum. And then just for the headlights, they needed a little bit more vacuum because we're still running the stock vacuum stuff for that. We made up a custom T over here in the main vacuum line, and this is like a port just in case you got a motor that makes too much vacuum. So obviously it doesn't kill vacuum from the booster, but Lacey, you're really just getting in the way here. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyways, so we just made up a custom T to go for that stuff for the headlights. You know, I know you just want to be involved, but yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, we cut some nubs off of here. Anybody that's wondering for throttle cables, because I know this is a huge question for LS guys, like what throttle cable do you use? And we always take the throttle cable from it'd be like a 2000 to 2005 Silverado, and that's just what we use. It works perfectly. Like even the hole, like you can modify the end of the cable itself to make it actually go into the factory hole. We did have to use I don't know what they're called. You can buy them in like the help section, probably at O'Reilly's or whatever. They sell them there. Obviously, we got like Canadian Tire part source here in Canada. They just go onto like a cable and you can like tighten the nut up on it and shorten your line. Because where the factory one goes on the inside, there wasn't enough like cable travel or pedal travel, I should say. So we had to like pull that back as far as it could go so we could actually open up the butterfly on that throttle body. We'll get this thing hoisted up in the air. And like I said, guys, if you're looking for any more information that I missed, hit me up on social media so far. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Or comment down below. I'll do my best to, answer your questions. But yeah, let's get this thing in the air. We get Lacey off of here so she doesn't go for a ride. And we'll show you some of the stuff underneath that we did. So here we go. Okay, in the air now. So you'll be able to see underneath everything that we did. So we just have a stock oil pan, like a truck oil pan that was modified. I made this a long time ago. I had a buddy weld it up. It's pretty simple setup. Like you just cut it down, make a little plate here to fill in the void there. Puts this in a good location. We actually had a couple leaks on it, so we fixed that. For steering stuff, because where we place the motor, we try to get it as low as possible. So here's a really good example for the motor mount. So you can see here, this is like the factory mount, and we just set the engine down onto these homemade plates we made, and then tap the holes in them, jack the motor up, slid them out, and then put them back in once we had them tapped. But the engine got a little low, and for the steering ram here, like this, helper ram, I don't know what you want to call it. I'm not a guru on C3s, but we just had to make some 1/2-inch spacers here just to drop this down. It's not affecting any of the, travel on this or whatever. Put some longer bolts in here just to clear the pan for when the ram would go back and forth. Then, if you saw in the video, when we fired it up in the last video, you actually see the wheels turned. And with this like hydraulic ram setup, for anybody that knows on C3s, the way it works is on sensitivity, and it's like a valve. So basically it's either shooting the fluid left or right. And if the valve on this doohickey right here isn't adjusted properly, all it's going to do is once it feels a little bit of shimmy in the steering wheel, it's going to shoot her sideways. So there's like a little adjuster in here. We basically adjusted this until it was even both ways. But then with some more research, because once we took it for a test drive, this car, the steering's like really touchy, right? And it's just like, obviously when you're going, it's like, you don't want it to be like wandering all over the road if it's really touchy. So we found out that a stock truck pump puts out anywhere, I think it was like 14 to 1500 PSI. And like an old school pump only puts out 800. So they do sell a shim kit. I'll put that down in the description down below for reducing the pressure in a power steering pump. Basically, if you have an old power steering pump or other ones laying around, they might have the shims in there. And you can take them out and you can put them into this. They'll fit right in. I don't know if we'll be able to see that under here. It's kind of tight. I don't know where I'm looking. But basically up in here, I don't know if you guys can see that, where the pressure fitting goes in, this nut right here, the shims, you take this out and there'll be like a thing where you can like stack shims onto it and basically bypasses pressure on that line so that your steering will feel more like it used to. That's it for the steering. Like I said, for the header here, we cut this manifold, made it so it shot in a different direction, so we had a little bit more clearance by the air box, but the truck, factory truck manifolds do work in this, so that's pretty cool. What else was I going to show? Oh, we were under here. Fuel lines, factory stuff comes down to here. We just reused them, right? But just brought them into a different location, put some heat wrap on them so that trying to keep the heat off of it. We were hoping to have a little more header wrap left, but you know, it is what it is. Obviously, we've got some junctions here. They're homemade junctions made out of like hydraulic fittings, because JIC and AN are the exact same thing. So if you're looking for cheap AN fittings, just buy hydraulic ones. They're like way cheaper. You can even buy the tube nut sleeves for hydraulic line, and they're the exact same thing. You just don't pay the big price tag. Any hydraulic place should sell that stuff. So then you can see here, we've got our fuel lines ran here. And obviously the only reason we're doing this because Dad wanted to do it a little bit on the cheap, which is, you know, perfectly okay. Got our aluminum lines. They run through here. We got a filter under here. Just, you know, obviously you want to run a extra filter on your stuff so that any junk from the tank is going to come in here. The tank in these things actually have a bladder, which is pretty cool. That was a bugger to get up in there. I'll try to shove the camera in where the junction goes. Oh, and there's a big muffler right there. I don't know if we'll be able to get in there. Maybe, huh? That's a cool one. I'm gonna show that to Dad. But you can see here, we're making it in. Okay, so you can see there that there's a junction that comes from like the frame rail, and it goes to rubber line, and the rubber line, okay. And the rubber line is what, holy, this light is bright. The rubber line is what goes from the tank then to our hard lines. And for the pump in there, all we did was, is if you've taken one of those apart before, there's a sock that lays in the bottom on the factory sending unit. So obviously with the setup we ran, you need a return line. So we reused the factory line that went down with the sock, chopped that off, used that line as the return line, and actually added a pressure line into the top of that sending unit. So basically drill the hole, braze the, you know, with all this with it not in the tank obviously, but braze the line and put some like, you know, I forget what we use, that mix of putty stuff. I don't know what you call it, just to seal up around the line, that we could get a pressure line coming out of the sending unit. Then we made up a little bracket out of, we just used, I had an old S10 tank around, and the pump that we bought, put that down in the description down below so you can see that cheap pump. It's actually really affordable. You can get it on Rock Auto. But we just used the S10 sending unit bracket, so it actually holds the pump really nicely. So we just chopped that off and like made it fit all onto that. Wish I had a picture of that. I don't have a picture of that, but that's it for the fuel system. This is really good questions. If there's anything else that we did, obviously we're still running the Turbo 400. We have the lines here if we ever going to switch over to you know, like a 4L60. I don't think so. I think the transmission is going to be fine. We got transmission slid basically as far as forward as it could go. So that's a key thing for guys that are doing it. So you know where we sat this in place and where it works. Basically as far forward as it can go. Makes it so you can get the drive shaft out easier if you got to do that, because that's a bugger. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else other, you know, crazy under here. It's basically, I think that's about it. We're running a aluminum rad in this thing. Oh, look, there's still some tape on there. What's going on here? Friggin' old man's falling down on the job. Frick. Nope. Anyways. Doesn't this one want to come off there? Well, what in the Sam squinch? Okay. But, yeah, other than that, we're just, you know, there was some funny things we had to do here. I know some people frown upon it, but we're using a, you know, brass, I don't know what you call those things. You find them in the plumbing section in Home Depot. But compression fitting, that's the word for it, to join the line that was the factory line up there to the, you know, I guess, sorry, this is the factory line, and that was the LS line, basically to join those two together. Other than that, I think that's it for underneath. So let's drop the car back down and call her a day. Well, I think that's going to do it for now, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions about this, you know, setup on what you have to do on a C3 to get the LS to fit in there, comment down below, hit me up on Facebook or Instagram. I'll do my best to get back to you. Kind of hard to explain some things, but I think everybody got the gist of it. This car is a bullet now with this LS in it, so I mean, I would totally recommend it. Super cool. Really just waiting on that one part. We're gonna get the hood back on and then take it for a rip. Let me know if you guys like to see a video of this thing ripping. I mean, I'll probably post it on social media. I mean, I already posted a video of it moving, but not really giving her, if you know what I mean, like just goosing her. But thanks guys for watching. We'll catch you guys next time, and as always, don't forget to salute the beaver.